All right. Oh, looks like my Aunt Kathy. Okay, The Alters. I can't believe how good this is. Best game of 2024.
I think I'm going to call you Molly.
This is probably one of the most engaging and impactful games I've played for a very long time. There is going to be spoilers from the outset, so do keep that in mind. This is the demo version that's available on the Steamfest right now. So the game is set on an alien world, and as you may have guessed, it's...
I like the atmosphere kind of feels of this, The Alters. I think I remember watching the trailer to this.
all about cloning. Specifically, it's about making clones of yourself in order to enlist assistance to escape this hostile world.
Dude, if I could make clones of myself, oh, what a perfect world this could be. One would strictly be a work clone. The other would be chained up in a dungeon, and crazy sexual acts would happen.
If I understand you correctly, you're telling me you're an alternate version of me with a different mind?
No, you're an alternate version of me.
It's a premise that works surprisingly well with some great gameplay. But perhaps it shouldn't be so surprising, as this game comes from the developers of the highly regarded This War of Mine. The game then takes place in two distinct notable areas. The surface of the alien world itself, which is, as you can see, very interesting visually. The other main area is the interior of your base, and as you can see, the way the base is presented is certainly inspired by This War of Mine.
Oh, you know what that reminds me of? This reminds me of like XCOM. Remember base building in XCOM? Oh my God, wasn't that the sweetest game of all time? How many of you are XCOM fans? Hold on one second. I got to put a 1 in my chat. XCOM was the shit. Even the second one where you were under the deep, where it wasn't as good as Cellar, where you played under the water. You know, it wasn't as good, okay? But the first XCOM was the shit. The last XCOM title was good as well. Like, you know, the most recent XCOM title was actually pretty good. I enjoyed that as well.
Inside your base, there's a variety of activities, including communication, manufacturing various things, and of course, base expansion. And outside of the base, there's exploration, gathering resources, as well as building external structures. And that's far from everything. Now, what really interested me about the Alters is not just the individual game loops, but rather how they integrate together. And for me, that's always what makes a game particularly interesting or particularly engaging. Not just that it has interesting game loops, but rather that the game exists as a cohesive whole. And it's something that, for some reason, a lot of developers actually fail to achieve. But for those who do, usually end up...
Oh, dudes, I love this already. Like, I'm loving this. What are we doing here? What is this? What's going on here?
With a very, very good game indeed. And from what I can see, The Alters looks like it's going to be a very good game. Now, the concept is...
It's like a base building game. Because, like, I'm digging the vibes. Like, I'm digging everything I'm seeing here. The ambiance, the vibes coming through the screen. I'm digging all
pretty
this,
simple
man.
And straightforward. You find yourself at the start of the game, waking up on an alien world. You spend the initial section of the game exploring and trying to understand why you're here. And more specifically, you're trying to track down your crew. Unfortunately, none of them seem to have survived, which in turn sets up the entire premise and concept for the game. You're here alone, but you need help and assistance in order to survive. And
this reminds me of The Dig, like the vibe of The Dig. You guys remember that old Serial Online title from way back in the 90s? Like, it has that The Dig vibe.
Hence, yes, you need those clones. So let's talk about the mechanism for getting those clones, and there's a few steps to this. So it all surrounds a resource, a very rare resource called Rapidium. You have your first encounter with this very early on in the demo, and eventually you learn that this can be used for, well, creating clones.
It has that vibe too.
But this isn't quite so straightforward and obvious as making a direct copy of yourself.
No,
instead, you go to a room aboard your base called the quantum computer, and in here you get access to mind records. This essentially is a timeline of all the key memories of your character's life, from the moment of their birth right up to the present day, and these appear as a timeline. And this is yet another area of the demo that really does impress me. It's very clear that a lot of thought has gone into every part of this game, both in terms of execution and how they work, but also in terms of visual concepts. Every part of the game is visually distinct and works very well with what it's trying to convey. But at the same time, again, it goes back to that cohesive whole. It all works together seamlessly and very, very well. So here you can see that timeline. There's all key memories on here, and you can actually click on any one of these and read about those key memories. The key moment for the cloning process comes into play when you learn of the ability to branch. That is, identifying a key moment in your timeline and then branching it in a different direction, making a different choice or an event happening in a different way. And from there, a brand new secondary timeline begins to form. And it's this that forms the basis of your clone's memories, your clone's entire lifetime. In short, they are an alternate version of you, hence the title of the game, The Alters. Now, this in turn leads to some very interesting story. Consider perhaps how you would get on with an alternate version of yourself. Some people, I think, would love to meet an alternate version of themselves, other people maybe not so much. So it really does open up a lot of intriguing dynamics.
Why don't you get yourself a repair kit and fix your own shit? I'm done doing your dirty work.
Now, whilst the demo only shows you one alter, the promotional artwork for the game shows many more, and this really does hint at what seems to be an entire family. In fact...
Okay, that's kind of creepy, though. Like, would you really clone yourself that many times? Maybe once or twice. But this guy's going clone crazy. You gotta clone a family. No, thank you very much. I can barely stand being by myself. You know what? I'm not even going to clone myself. That would be ridiculous to clone myself. I can't even stand myself. Oh, my God. I don't even know how people can stand me right now watching me. Turn this shit off. How dare you? How can you even stand this one person right here? Oh, fuck myself.
The trailer of the game shows somewhat more, really goes into a bit more depth. Each of these alters has a very distinct skill set, whether they are the engineer that you wake up in the demo, or later on in the full game, I assume, scientists and
This guy's masturbating clones all over. This guy's got some serious masturbatory problems, man. There's serious masturbation happening here all over the place. All over the place.
Coach list and many more. Now, all of these have very different personalities.
There's total There's total masturbatory undertones throughout this entire narrative here. There is masturbatory overtones throughout this entire Alters game.
And very different attitudes towards life. Yet they all share something very important, something very key. They share the same memories up to the moment at which they were branched. And this obviously, in terms of narrative, gives a lot of possibilities to actually explore, including the very strong bonds that might form between two such people. So it's the foundation of the game, and it's a very, very strong one. At least it seems that way to me, and hopefully the full game explores this in enough detail and lives up to the potential and the promise that the demo is suggesting. Now, on top of all this is the gameplay. Like I say, you do have a base to build. This can be expanded right out, and that includes increasing the size of the base as well as adding new rooms, and each room has its very own functionality. Resources, meanwhile, are very important, whether that's gathering metals so you can continue to manufacture things, or organics for similar sort of things. You also need to manufacture food to keep everyone happy.
This is what I find with these types of games, and this is where I break down. This is where I go from I really like this game to what the fuck am I doing? I want more people to play this game, and I want it in an MMO setting where I can pit my base against somebody else's base, and therefore I get in that old school competitional PvP mode where I say, well, why can't I play against other people? Why can't I pit everything that I've built against somebody else's base? See, that's where the breakdown happens for me. And this is why I know naturally I'm a PvPer, because I love that competition and it's not there. So usually what ends up happening is on these solo games, I dig the style, I dig the design, I try all the different versions, I play the fuck out of it until I can't play any more of it. And then I say, well, why can't I play against somebody else in an MMO format? That's where I eventually come to the conclusion that I am a PvPer, because I'm like, okay, where are the other people at? Because these types of games are like a masturbatory undertone to me, where you're just self-gratifying, and then eventually you're like, you know what? I need a partner.
Sustained. And this means you'll have to venture outside of your base into that very dangerous world out there. Now, out there's plenty of things going on that will keep you entertained.
See, and the solo games that really get me into this self-masturbatory kind of gameplay are the building games, like any type of city builder, sim builder, what's the newest one, the indie title, Manor Lords, Manor Lords or RTSs, but it's got to have a skirmish mode with multiple, like if it's an RTS, I want a skirmish mode. That's why I keep talking with Todd with Falling Frontiers, which is a space RTS game, and I'm like, dude, come on, Todd, you gotta put like a skirmish mode so you can fight other actual gamers, human players. But anyway, like these solo type experiences, the ones that get me in the most are games that are replayable AF. You get a solo game that's replayable as AF, I'm in for it. Like a Wing Commander or a Choose Your Own Adventure kind, where you have like different choices, put you in different directions, different narratives and stories, and I just play the fuck out of it in all different options until I hit a point where I've done everything that can be done, and then I go, okay, I'm done with the game. That's what eventually ends up happening until there's DLC if it's really popular, and then I say, do I want to get involved in this DLC thing? Because you know what ends up happening then? It's like a perpetual Hearthstone nightmare. Don't even get me started about the money I spent on that game, which is not related to the genre or game style that I'm talking about here. But in terms of DLC, that's kind of what happens. It's a suck. It's a money suck. It just sucks your money over and over and over again. And these types of games can do that in the form of DLC. Like, oh, look, new structure. Oh, look, new map. Oh, look, new characters, more versions of yourself. That's how that DLC just sucks your soul. That's why I tend to gravitate towards MMOs and PvP style, because like it's all dynamic. I don't need continual DLC. I don't need to keep pumping out money. And also why I wonder why PvPers are a minority and not a majority, because financially it actually saves you more money if you really think about it, right? It's really kind of crazy. I always wonder why PvPers are a smaller population than PvEers. And I think that people are just in a zone where they don't want to deal with people because they've dealt with people all day long and they want to just be in their own zone, and I completely understand that. But at some point with gaming, I think competition is important. I think that having people that you can pit yourself and your skills up against is actually very entertaining and dynamic and always different, and therefore content that is most importantly free.
I'm in a fountain.
We are not talking about Star Citizen caveman crafting, and really it holds no relevance to this particular game, and neither does anything that I'm speaking of right now. He does want us to know that the daily reminder that Star Citizen needs a dynamic player-driven economy and contracting system is of paramount importance. Can I get an amen?
Yes, sir!
There's your Star Citizen message within another game title message for today. I will agree with you. I was just pounding the table on that caveman crafting. I don't know if you were here about 10 or 15 minutes ago, but I was just talking about that. Thank you for reiterating every one of my single concerns inside of my large caveman-like head. We have that in common, my Neanderthal brother.
And intrigued, and that includes the nature of the world itself, but also the danger. You will need to exploit the various resources out there, and you see this in the demo.
Economy PvP is my fave, and usually can only happen in a player-driven economy as well. Can I get an amen to that? We gotta be careful what we're going to get in our MMO economies, which again holds no relevance to this game title whatsoever, and we will continue on with this video.
Where you need to build a mining plant, an extraction plant, and tether this to your base with pylons, which provide it with ongoing energy. Now, as if all of this wasn't intriguing enough, there is another element to the game, and this provides further narrative, a few other factors here. But more so, what it does really do is put a time pressure on the game. And this appears in multiple different ways. For starters, you do need to sleep, and the amount of sleep you get determines how much active, how long you can be active for before finally passing out. So yes, you'll need to sleep in the game and keep yourself sustained.
Is that a mechanic, a sleep mechanic? They have like a rest mechanic so that you can actually function and move with your character. I'm not quite sure I'm hip to the sleep mechanic.
On top of that, you do have a daily time pressure.
It is a survival-based game, though, and sleep is very important. I just really have never seen a sleep mechanic so that, well, Dungeons and Dragons, you know.
This means that during the daytime, you can go outside and get involved with the various activities you need to do. But come nighttime, around about 9 o'clock in the evening, something will happen. the world will start to fill up with radiation. That means you can't stay out there very long. You'll need to get back. You have a little bit amount of time, but eventually your suit will degrade, at which point you will die. Inside your base, you are protected from the radiation, at least to an extent. But in order to get maximum protection from the radiation, you'll need to have a radiation shield on your base. It does come with one by default, but it needs radiation scrubbers, and these need to be manufactured on an ongoing.
Goddamn radiation, man. Probably one of the worst ways to die, man. Getting cooked from the inside out like you're in a fucking microwave. We're gonna watch a video about nuclear reactors. I think Retro put it in the look at this DG in the Discord. We're gonna watch right next up. We're gonna watch a video about nuclear reactors. And, you know, like a lot of people saying, hey, we need to go nuclear. We need to go nuclear. Man, that shit scares me. I remember being a kid talking about nuclear reactors and nuclear weapons and shit. And, you know, oh, it's clean. It's clean. It's clean. Ask Japan that. Ask Japan if nuclear reactors are clean.
Going basis to keep
we need to go fusion. Clean. Amen.
Without that, radiation will slowly seep in and slowly poison you. And then there is the third time factor, and this one is the most important one. You see, the game is set in a trinary star system. That's a star system with 3 different...
If it's gotten so safe, would you put it, would you, I mean, I guess the question is, Mad Style goes, it's gotten safer. I guess the question then is, Mad Style, would you live in proximity of a nuclear reactor, dude? Because I sure as shit wouldn't, man. If you do, more power to you, bro. You got some big balls, man. If you're cool living in the shadow of a nuclear reactor, you go for it, bro. But me, nah.
Different stars or 3 different suns. If anyone's seen the 3-body problem, they'll know a little bit about what this may mean and what it may represent. And that means that at some point, and you do have a set number of days here, the other star will come along and eradicate life from this surface of the world. And your task is to escape the planet before that happens. Ultimately then, the Alters has many different layers to it, and all of these are very intriguing on their own, very interesting as standalone concepts. But what's really nice here is how well they work together as a cohesive whole. And perhaps somewhat surprisingly, this is something that the demo demonstrates very, very well. It introduces all these major concepts and lets you explore the game and get a good feel for it, all within a relatively short time span. And what this tells me is that the developers know exactly what they're doing, and they've crafted together a very nice game here. This is something I'm very much looking forward to. I really want to get my hands on the Alters and really can't wait to play the full thing. If you're interested in checking out the demo, do take a look. There's a link in the video description which will take you to Steam. Keep in mind that this will only be available during Steam's Summerfest, so you've only got a few days really to check this out before the demo probably disappears again. So yeah, if you're interested in this, probably best not to hang around. At any rate, thanks for watching this video all the way through. There are other videos on the screen right here if you want to check them out as well.
Interesting. All right, well, thank you to the Lord and Savior Obsidian Ant with his dulcet ASMR tones. I might get into that. I don't know. I can tell you if it's gonna be like north of $50, probably not. I paid $35. I paid $35. I know this type of title with the looks and the way it is, you know, it's gonna be a $60 plus game. And I would tell you the only way I would play this is in the $35 region, and that's me. You want to get people like me that generally don't want to do this, but kind of like are enticed a little bit. You want a little bit more sales, then you put this down to $35, and I might be interested in this. If it's north of 60, no way. If it's north of 50, if it's 50 or lower, maybe. Yeah, it's unreleased right now. I'm just curious as to what they're going to release this as. Retro's got a Steam link here. Let's check it out. See what, thank you so much, Retro. Release date 2024. That's super not helpful. No user reviews because it's not out yet. Add to your wish list, and then they're letting you download this. By the way, that link that Retro put in there, you guys can try the demo out if you're interested in it. They have that's cool. Dig that they're doing that. And you could just, you know, create sheep all day long song. You can create sheep on that demo. That's all they allow you to do, though. Only create sheep. I